Hi, everybody. My name's Kai, and welcome back to another episode of the 480 Podcast. Today, we're giving you guys our preview of your Arizona State Sun Devils against the Texas State Bobcats, the first road game of the season for your Sun Devils. And we're going to see how they fare against their first team going into the Sun Belt League. So what do you guys think that's going to happen this game? What do you guys think is going to transpire?
I mean, first of all, we just need to establish that this is going to be a tough game. This might be the hardest game we've played on our schedule this far. I would say most certainly it is the hardest game we've played on the schedule this far. So this isn't a cakewalk. I mean, ASU is favored 1.5. You give about 2-3 points if it's a home team. So about a 4.5 point spread at a neutral site. So this is a closer game than the last two that the ASU Sun Devils have faced.
Yeah, and this is a week after they played their UTSA Classic. It's the I-35 rivalry, and they dominated last week. It was really cool just going back on some of the coverage, some of the highlights on it, but this coach definitely has his team ready to run through a wall for them.
Of course, and let's not forget, though, too, their star quarterback, Jordan McLeod, going for 309 yards the other night against UTSA.
Yeah.
And
they're rushing, too.
Of course, their rushing game was amazing.
Yeah.
You know, Lincoln Pear, their main running back, rushed for 109 yards for 2 tutties.
Yep.
Like, a phenomenal game right there. I'm really excited for this game,
He's
guys.
their RB3.
Or RB, is he really their RB3?
Yeah, it's
wow.
pretty cool.
But, yeah, I'm really excited for this game. I'm super excited to see how ASU's DBs fare against this super heavy pass offense. I'm super excited to see, though, too, how they handle a guy like Lincoln Parr and, you know, Jordan McLeod, who rushed for 30 yards, too. Like, he clearly can show that he can get out of the pocket, find an open hole, get through, get some yards, and, you know, get a first down for your team when he needs it. So I'm excited to see how your Arizona State Sun Devils fare against a team like this.
Yeah, so basically the context behind this game, this team, Coach Kine has implemented a recruiting title called Take Back Texas. It's similar to Coach Kenny Dillingham's Activate the Valley. I see a lot of similarities between these two teams, just simply because they have their established identity in running the ball, and they have a dominant front seven that is ready to be very aggressive to swarm the ball. And yeah, you went back on Jordan McLeod. He's definitely a journeyman college quarterback going into a fifth year of college eligibility.
6th year.
6th year. Wow, that's remarkable. He started for different teams like Eastern Carolina to U of A to a very dominant season last year with James Madison. So he has all this experience, and I think it's cool just to see how Coach Kine has brought this team together, not only with the recruiting standpoint, but just with the energy standpoint. This team definitely has a lot of camaraderie going into this game. So that is pretty much a testament on how difficult this game will be.
Of course, and I mean, that's one of the biggest things, too, about this Texas State team, you know. I mean, they're really proving themselves to be one of the better teams in their in the Sun Belt Conference. You know, their D-line looks absolutely phenomenal, especially with, you know, their wide receiving cores being as strong as they have been. I mean, Jordan Polk, one of their star defensive linemen, 9 solo tackles in the game against UTSA. Like, phenomenal performance right there. And I mean, I'm super excited to see how Texas State does in terms of defending the run game. They're a team commonly known for, you know, rushing the O-line super heavy, making sure that they press the QB whenever they can, making sure that their edge rushers are always vigilant, you know, always trying to make sure that they can read that running back, you know, make sure that they really close the pocket, make sure that they close those lanes to allow, you know, no yards in the backfield from anybody in the backfield. They did it, too, in their first game of the season. You know, they've combined it for 90 points through the first 2 games. Yeah. So, I mean, this team, like, has a lot to prove. And I'm excited, though, too, for this game because both teams that are going into this are undefeated so far. I mean, I know it's only week 3. You know, can't be too hyped around that, but excited to see who's going to get their first loss here.
Yeah.
I mean, you can say that, but if you look, ASU had a hard non-conference schedule this year. No one was predicting them to start 2-0, or at least very few were. So you can't really sit here and say, "Oh, it's an easy." You know, it's only week 2. Like they played teams that were supposed to give them trouble, and ASU has responded. Now you can say about the Texas State Bobcats, they haven't played a lot of competition, but ASU just got done playing an SEC school.
They did, and their first SEC victory that they've had ever. They were 0-5 originally and now are officially 1-5 against all SEC schools. So that's super hyped to see. You know, it was awesome too. The vibes, the atmosphere at Mountain America Stadium last night were, you know, phenomenal. It was so good to see how most teams did during the entire season. You know, I mean, I think there was so much to prove there. Cam Scadaboo having Player of the Week in the AP and the Big 12. Obviously, though, too, you know, the beef player of the week for the Big 12 was, you know, or guy CJ Fight. For CJ Fight, you know, fumble recovery touchdown, you know, way to get it into the end zone there, big guy. So awesome performance there. I can't wait to see, too, how the Arizona State's defensive line does against a team like this. You know, it's going to be really hard to, I think, stop big plays from happening. I feel like, at least in terms of how it's gone so far. So I'm excited to see how they do against blocking that, you know, trying to put a stop to those type of plays.
All right, so basically here's the background for Coach Kine. So he previously was coaching at Incarnate Ward. So Cam Scadaboo is very familiar with him as a coach because he started his career at Sacramento State. So he acknowledged this team as one of the most dominant FBS mid-major schools to play. So I'm very excited just to see how well this team goes up against the challenge. What's really cool and very noticeable to their depth chart is the fact that all of their players are transfers. They're not new year. They just came here and they're now Bobcats just based on this year. It's just basically the motive that a lot of these guys aren't as homegrown. They're journeyman college players. And when I was watching the presser for Coach Kine, that was a lot of his questions. The context was behind his ability to basically rebuild this culture, to bring back what Texas State could be as a very good mid-major school, and to ultimately add some sort of pull factor for these guys who haven't been familiar with Texas football since high school. They tried to experience different other D1 universities out of state, but are ultimately coming back and playing for their homegrown state. So it's really cool just the fact that Texas State will be able to host 2 back-to-back very exciting games. Their fan base is electric. They definitely have that student section, that like the Inferno, in which these guys are showing up. It's not an empty stadium. I know the stadium capacity is 30,000, but I would not be surprised if they're packing at least 25 to 30,000.
That's why they say everything's bigger in Texas, you know?
Yeah,
even the fan bases for all the football teams.
Yeah,
always like
high
that.
school football in Texas is different.
So huge. Yeah.
But yeah, Strider, how do you really feel about the potential adversity that ASU could be facing right now? Do you think they're up for this challenge?
I think they're up for this challenge. We saw last week, obviously, they were good. They faced some adversity, but they bounced back. And no matter what Texas State throws at them, it's still Texas State. This is it's a good squad, but you know, they're not scared of Texas State the way they'd be scared of maybe a Kansas, right? Say in 3 weeks when we play Kansas, something goes wrong. You know, they're more likely to bow down to a team like that than a team like Texas. And I'm really hoping to see Levitt air it out a little bit more. Last game we saw
they'll stop the run for sure.
Yeah, Scadaboo absolutely dominated. One of the best running back performances we might see this year.
Yep.
Certainly it'll be Scadaboo's best performance, but Levitt didn't get the opportunity to air it out like we know he can. So as a freshman quarterback, a redshirt freshman quarterback, it's his 3rd game. I want to see him step up and make some big throws to his receivers because they are very good at all of our skill positions.
I think the biggest feature to this game was the fact that it could be acknowledged as a potential trap game. And I know the line right now, we went over it. It's only at 2 points, us projected to cover that. But this is really it. It's either we feed into the storyline that this is a trap game that we could play down to this opponent, or we commit to the fact that we won't trap ourselves. And that's what Cam Scadaboo acknowledged. He's like, we can minimize our capabilities and play down to our opponent, or we can completely eliminate the mindset that we're not going to beat ourselves. We're just going to be the best versions of ourselves as a team and it being the first road game, I think this is a cool opportunity for the guys to grow together, to build that bond, and really just to let loose a little bit. When you go on away sports games, it's like a different feeling because you're just with your guys. Like, you make these cool core memories that they kind of stick with you, and they help so much with character development. And I'm really excited to see how this team travels. And not only that, but on a 5-day turnaround. But again, we're matching the same energy with Texas State. They're on the same schedule. They're on a 5-day turnaround. So it's a very even slate for us. I'm excited just to see how well we can perform and ultimately execute our game plan. What kind of game plan do you really see going into this game?
I mean, I think a lot of this is just going to be it's going to be containing guys in zone coverage. You know, I mean, Arizona's really going to have to prove that their DBs that they spent, time and effort in the transfer portal need to perform. It's going to be a big thing here tonight.
Yeah.
Especially with Jordan McLeod being as insane as he is. He's an arm slinger.
He's going to extend the play.
Exactly. Yeah. He's going to. And that's something that Arizona State's going to need to look out for. I think this is going to be the first big game that we're going to face in terms of passing. I feel like this is going to be one of the first teams we're going to get a look at that can throw the deep ball, that can make big plays. That'll, you're going to have to be wary of the checkdowns. Texas State's a team.
Yeah, because Evan Sabota and Ben Shapen, Blake Shapen, they weren't those
exactly.
They tried, but we couldn't.
They can't. They don't have the arms to do that.
Also, a cool feature is they were immobile in the pocket.
They were.
But Jordan McLeod is mobile in the pocket.
That's the biggest thing that Arizona's going to have to look out for. It's going to be one of the games where we're going to probably face the most adversity, especially so early on where we haven't gone against a team that has this type of offensive play style. Like, it's going to be a big adjustment for us, and especially on the road, like you said, with Texas State, regardless of them being a small stadium or not, they will most likely pack out this crowd, and like, a lot of these guys that we got from the transfer portal some haven't been to Texas State, some haven't been to, Texas at all, really.
Yeah.
And same thing with some of the younger guys, they haven't played a team in this type of caliber before. It's just going to be a huge change of mindset. I think there needs to be an established tone very early on. And depending on that, I think it's going to depend on this entire game.
I think the game plan for Texas State is to keep Jordan McLeod moving. So they're going to put a lot of boots, like bootleg play action plays, because in order to minimize a pass rush, you just have to get the quarterback away from the pass rush. It's like, if you're not in the pocket and you're moving, you're scrambling around, making these bootleg reads and just using your athleticism to your fullest capability, it's like, that's when a Clayton Smith or Elijah O'Neal is going to struggle to pin back their ears, because they're going to just be trying to run back after the quarterback. And it's going to be hard because he's going to let go of that ball going in for those 5 and outs, but it's not going to be the classic snap the ball, catch it, throw the 5 and out. No, it's going to be the classic, I'm going to snap the ball and I'm going to go boot around, do a complete 180, get the O-line moving, get some zone blocking moving, and then I'll make the 5 and out read. And it's going to minimize our pass rush. So I can definitely see how Coach Keene could definitely out-scheme us in this aspect.
Yeah, so I think if ASU is going to try to mitigate what they're able to do offensively, it's going to require, we saw a little bit of it at the end of the Mississippi State game, but Keyshawn Elliott had a sack and a tackle for loss this last game. Him blitzing off the corner could do a lot in keeping
Miles Rouser too.
Yes,
blitzing off the slot.
Elijah O'Neal too, with his 3 sacks on the year as well.
Yeah, just able to keep McLeod in the pocket, and then, like you mentioned, if you haven't watched our post game of Mississippi State, go watch it. But you mentioned that Miles Rouser, Shamari, and Xavier Alford were our top 3 tacklers. So I think this scheme for ASU's defense coming into this game is we're going to get some pressure off the corner to be able to keep
McLeod
inside. We're gonna need some disciplined pass rushing. Guys you can't just take the hole that they're giving you, because there's a good chance that hole's a trap. Okay. Keep him in the pocket, get some outside pressure from a nickel corner or whatever we end up doing, and then have Rouser, Simmons, and Alford clean up at the end of the play.
Yeah, get him on the blind side for real. Because, look, if you let him just manipulate us with his legs, and you just let him walk all over behind the line of scrimmage, tell him to make a throw wherever he wants, he's going to make that throw. Exactly. He has that experience. He knows what he's doing. He knows his skill set. And I think Coach Keene knows that as well. It's like, okay, we got to get McLeod going. Like, we can't just have him sitting like a sitting duck. Like,
Which is why he threw 3,500 yards last year with JMU.
Yeah.
You know, he's a guy that
And 35 touchdowns.
35 tutties as well.
They kept him going. They kept him mobile.
Exactly, and that's the biggest thing.
And no one could defend against that. The JMU opponents just never faced someone like that.
Of course, and going back to the DB situation, I mean, this is the wide receiving room from their last game against UTSA. Chris Down Jr., 5 receptions, 150 yards for 2 tutties.
Yeah, Chris
Same
nice.
thing with
he's a sophomore. He's young.
Exactly, and same thing with Ismaili. You know, the wide receiver 2 or 3, I believe, for the Texas right now. 56 yards through 4 receptions. Like, this team is so good in terms of burning their corners. Like, Chris Don, I watched a little bit of film on the Texas State game versus UTSA. He is the definition of a route runner that will burn you the first chance he gets.
Yeah.
He literally broke...
Kind of like Kevin Coleman.
Exactly. He broke 2 guys' ankles in like the old Lamar Jackson step back way. Like, it was, I mean, it was a beautiful play, you know? And I think that's just going to be another thing going back to the Arizona, like, defensive back situation, you know? We spent time and effort in this transfer portal where you need these guys to start performing, and this is that game where they need to showcase it.
Yeah, this O-line consists of all upperclassmen, so Texas State is going to execute this game plan. They're going to know, okay, McLeod might not just be in the pocket a little bit. We might have to extend the play a lot of the times if we want to get some sort of momentum. So I think they're going to fully expect McLeod to get outside the pocket, and they're going to break out with him. So you can fully expect an O-lineman to be trailing on the line along the line of scrimmage, and McLeod is moving a little bit behind the line of scrimmage, trying to get out of that pocket. But ultimately, this is a different quarterback that we haven't faced yet, and we really have to game plan towards this. We have to be a step ahead. We have to send those alternate blitz pressures, not just the expected blitz pressures of like, okay, Keyshawn and Thiasu coming down there. No. You got to send some guys on the edge, a sneaky Cole Martin snack. I think that could happen to this on Thursday.
Of course.
Yeah. And as we move to the offense, I want to bring up a stat for you guys. Last week against Mississippi State, okay, 3rd down efficiency for the Sun Devils, 5 for 15. That's not going to fly.
Yeah.
It's going to take a little bit better precision from this ASU offense against a team like Texas State. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, he's going to be mobile. I don't like if what the position needs to be is we need to get him in 3rd and longs. Because if we get him in 3rd and longs, then he's going to have that ego to try to use this athleticism to be the superhero, and that's going to be his greatest fault. You're not the superhero, bro. You're in your 6th year of college football, all right? Yeah. It's for a reason. But ultimately, if we contain his athleticism and we don't let him get too comfortable, give him the liberty to leave the pocket whenever he wants, it's like, okay, if you leave the pocket, you're getting chased by someone. Not because you're running your little sprint, your bootleg, and you have all the time in the world because you ran away from the pass rush. No, it's because we have someone who's on the edge chasing you, and you're uncomfortable, so you're going to make an off-target throw. And I even mentioned my dad's a diehard U of A fan. I'm like, hey, we're playing Jordan McLeod. He's a U of A player, and he's like, yeah, he's mobile, but he makes a lot of off-target throws because he doesn't have the hip.
The core more.
Yeah, it's like it's like not even mobility. It's like the hip devotion. Like, you have to dedicate your entire throw to making an accurate throw. Like, you have to have good hips. You have to stay disciplined. That's what
you have
it
to
is.
be Mahomes.
The hip discipline, right? You have to be disciplined in your throwing style. And what he's going to do is he's going to try to improvise too much, and he's going to try to be like Mahomes a little bit, but that's going to be his greatest fault. Like, we got to have these alternate blitzes, get him pressured, and then have him make a silly mistake, throw up a ball, or even just fumble the ball when we just have that alternate pressure coming in. So I can definitely see 2 turnovers from this defense, but I can also see him succeeding on a lot of his athletic extensions of the plays.
No, of course, and that's going to be one of the biggest things, though, too, for Brian Ward and his defensive scheme.
Yeah.
This is going to be a really big adjustment for him.
Yeah.
We're finally going to see, I'm really excited for this because this is going to be Brian Ward's first, I feel like, test this year, I feel like. In terms
this
of
is
how he
like
runs
playing
his
a mini
defense.
Jalen Daniels.
This
is like our warm-up, really.
Warm up for Kansas?
Yeah, warm up for Kansas. It's like, okay, Yeah, Jalen Daniels, he's probably going to read a few blitzes just like Jordan McLeod is. He's going to know what's going on. He'll make a difference. He'll make some protection checks, right? But if we are moving stunts, so like if we have Elijah Neal and Clayton Smith pretending to rush outside, but then they're stunting inside, and then our D lineman and CJ Fight, Jeff Clark are going outside, then their O-line is going to maybe not pick up one of them, and then he's going to have the pressure to kick it to the left, and he's going to make an off-target throw. Or if we're going on the concrete 4-down lineman, but then we send one of these DB blitzes, a slot corner blitz, then he's going to be running for his life, and he's going to make an off-target throw. We have to make him uncomfortable in unique ways, in ways we have not seen our ASU Sun Devils do yet, just based on situation, but I'm really excited to see what we can do going up against this task and this challenge. But do you see yourself, or do you see any players of the game on defense manifesting themselves into having a huge game? What are you expecting? Like, what's your highlighted player that you think is going to ball out this week?
I mean, I think just because of the fact that I believe we're going to need to run some blitz, that I'm looking at a Keyshawn Elliott. He was my player of the game for last game that I said going in.
I could see him going outside too.
No,
like he doesn't just go down the middle. He goes outside.
What I would like to see him in an ideal situation is I'd like to see some strong side pressure. Get him running towards his weak side, right? Get him running that way, because then plays are going to be a little bit harder to make, and that's the way that they can beat him and force McLeod.
We need stunts, and we need that
to make
pressure.
some errors, because if he's running to his left, right, and trying to throw, like he's not going to be as on target as often as if he's able to run a nice little bootleg
to the right, and then he's just taking his time, just running
that Geno Smith bootleg where he gets his back completely turned to the to the defense and doesn't let the safeties read his eyes. But that's a Keyshawn Elliott. He's one of my favorite players on this defense, but he's a guy that could eat in this game, and I think he's going to be extremely important, because we're going to have Rouser and Simmons and Alford. They're going to be playing, they're going to be cleaning up everything else. So we're going to need a Keyshawn Elliott, a Cole Martin to be able to.
We need him to blitz once.
Yeah.
Get some pressure on him.
Of course. And my, kind of piggybacking a little bit, I would say for me, Clayton Smith is my guy, at least to have the bigger defensive game. And I say this a lot because Clayton, the way he was rushing the interior against Mississippi, it was absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, that fumble was a stunt. It wasn't him just doing the traditional pass rush. It was him going inside, and the D lineman went outside, and he broke inside. The guard didn't pick him up, and then he started chasing Shapen, and then Shapen fumbled it.
Of course, and that was the thing, though, too, that Jordan McLeod actually had a really tough time with at U of A was ball protection.
Yeah.
He had, oh my gosh, I forget. It was within the 3 games that he played, it was 4 fumbles. And of course, obviously throughout experience, you grow and you slowly learn that.
Yeah. And you saw that at JMU.
Yeah, but he still had it. But he still had a decent amount of fumbles at JMU. Clayton Smith is the guy that can break through that interior, the interior line, break through on the outside quickly enough to get in and hit him hard enough to get a ball loose. I think that we're going to see at least a fumble or 2, not specifically from Clayton Smith, but also maybe from Keyshawn, CJ Fight, a guy that will get in there and hit him hard. I honestly think that as long as our defensive line can find those gaps, it's an easy breakthrough. And Clayton Smith, the way he rushes on the outside line is very similar to how I feel about TJ Watt. The way that he's able to get in, break through, he can bull rush, the shed blocks that he does is phenomenal. I think Clayton Smith does a great job at being able to just tear apart a line and making a lane for himself to get straight through to the QB. He did that. It was very evident with Mississippi's O-line. Yeah. He did that a lot, and it worked out for him in the best way possible.
I think the biggest feature to this defense will be the D-line depth, because we're going to be rotating guys so they're fresh. We got fresh legs, and so I really can't wait to see a sneaky guy like Zach Swanson just adding that pressure in those mid-second quarter drives, those mid-third quarter drives, and he's just adding that QB pressure. But it's low-hanging fruit for me. I think my player, the defensive side of the ball, will be Miles Rouser, just because I need him to wake up Jordan McLeod. I need him to crack him once, bro. Seriously. Because I feel like that's what contributed to Evan Sabota being so uncomfortable. He wanted to play like Jordan McLeod. He wanted to get going a little bit and also feed off the run game. But Miles Rouser made him feel sorry for leaving that pocket a few times. And that's what we need to do. We need to get Jordan McLeod scared to go past the sticks. And more importantly, when he is leaving the pocket, it's because he's getting chased, because he's getting pressure, not because he has the liberty to run his bootlegs, to run his little play action fake and then get him some time. Like, no, we got to get him uncomfortable. And I'm not expecting this to be a traditional pass rush, make him uncomfortable in the pocket. No, we know what he's going to do, so we need to send these alternate blitzes. I'm really excited for what Brian Ward can do this week.
Of course, and I know we just touched on the defensive players who our DPOGs are going to be, but what about our offensive players? What about our OPOGs? Strider, what's your thoughts on who do you think is really going to stand out on this ASU offense?
Yeah.
So, Scattaboo, 33 carries in this last game. Dillingham talked about it in the presser. They keep sending him to cryotherapy, right? They're trying to get him back.
But who's that other guy? Who's that other guy?
Raleek Brown.
Yeah.
Raleek Brown is coming back. Some home run hitter energy
they
for
can't
him.
get him.
He is so fast, and that's a guy.
Change of pace.
That this is perfect timing for ASU if you think about it.
Oh, my God. Yes.
Raleek Brown should come into this game perfectly healthy. Scattaboo on a short week had a monster game last week, and now he gets the opportunity to potentially take a step back and only carry the ball 15, 20 times this game. And I'm hoping Raleek Brown gets a good 5 to 8 rushes for 40, 50 yards, and that can completely change this ASU offense.
Yeah, let them stack the box. Raleek Brown breaks one tackle.
And
You're
that's a touchdown.
You're
It's a
gone.
touchdown.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's probably going to be good blocking. He's going to get to the second level, and it's going to be a strong safety. He's going to have a one-on-one tackle with him, and Raleek's got this, bro. He's going to have to break that strong safety. He's going to have to take it home one time. And so, obviously, our Scattaboo, DeCarlos Brooks are power running backs, but, I could even see Kyson Brown having a role in this week. It's oh, look, you got to ball out, man. This is it. This is a hard mid-major team. They know what our identity is now that we've put out enough film. So, Raleek, you don't got any film out with this team yet, man. You are going to have some designed runs.
And I don't think DeCarlos Brooks has really locked down that RB2 spot. He's been productive, but last game, 8 carries for 24 yards, 3 yards a carry, and he had some missteps along the way. So that RB2 spot is not locked down. We're on a week where Scattaboo's a little unhealthy. He says he feels fine. He says a little bit of toe pain, but
He's fine.
It's a long season, and we got to keep him healthy. So I'm seeing a big game from Raleek Brown.
Yep, for sure. And then I also see some sneaky tight end drags where they're going to fake a block, and then I could see a Cayman Mateer just sneaking in, going on a drag, going to the left side. Sam Levitt will fake the play action and then dump off a lot of these tight ends because we really want to feed off this run this weekend or this week.
Of course. I totally agree with you guys. I'm so confident in Jordan Tyson to do good. I know he didn't have an outstanding game.
He's going to win his matchup.
Last game. Of course he is. In terms of the DBs going up against Texas State, I think he's going to burn anybody that's going to line up on him. But at the same time, though, too, the thing about this Texas State team that is very interesting to me, every single one of their transfer portal acquisitions were activated for week 1. And every single one of them had at least 2 snaps played. So that's one of the biggest things about this Texas State team that I'm honestly really curious to see is how their entire transfer portal of 22 people are going to fare up against ASU. They are guys that have never gone against these teams. 2 of their transfer portal acquisitions were basketball players who are entering their first year as anything
cool.
football.
Yeah,
So
their Take Back Texas, their quote, that vision is it's definitely manifesting itself. But we're in Texas 2 different times these next 2 weeks.
Of course.
We got to play State and Tech. I think their approach is going to be completely different. They're on totally different sides of the dimension. But this is the game we prove that we are not one-dimensional.
Totally. And this is what I mean. I think Sam and Tyson are probably who I'm really depending on to have a good game.
Do you guys
this game.
see a Levitt 20-plus yard touchdown or a 20-yard pass this week?
I hope so.
Yeah.
It's something I think he needs to unlock in his game.
I see it. I see a play action post. I think he connects.
See, I love Sam, and I think he had so many chances for the deep ball against Mississippi. I know how we all feel about it in this room, But at the same time, though, too, there's certain passes that he's just going to need to hit. With
Yeah.
with the way that the rush is probably going to be coming in on him, the blitz is going to be coming in on him.
Yeah, he's going to have to read that.
Yeah, there's going to be so many adjustments he's going to have to make, and I think the deep ball is going to be something he needs to use, and it's a part of his arsenal. Like, Levitt can throw the ball deep. He just needs to be more accurate with that pass. And once he knocks that down, I think Levitt is going to be a really solid QB for ASU. But I definitely think that's going to be a thing that he's going to have to really kind of stress on during this game, at least at Texas State.
I could see offensively a lot of screens, like RB, HB screens, and then I could see if you're reading a man coverage, I could see the halfbacks doing some wheel routes. Honestly, like a Raleek Brown wheel route right now.
That could be dangerous.
That
Could break.
Like
for
if you're
40,
doing
50
some motion
yards.
and Sam Levitt sees that it's man coverage, take advantage of it because they're probably going to be running cover 3 the entire game. But there's going to be a few plays they do man coverage on us because they're blitzing.
Of course.
Do it. Run those hard schemes, get those mesh concepts going, really get them off guard because they're athletic, but we can match that athleticism, and our confidence in our identity is truly what's going to bring the W.
Of course, the tradition now in the stew is always going to be this, and it's going to be our pre-game score predictions. Strider, how are we feeling?
Oh, how are we feeling? I'm feeling some big offensive production from ASU this week. Give me 34 points for ASU.
Wait, what?
Really? To a what though? At Texas State.
Oh, now that's the big question. How do we think ASU defense stacks up against that Texas State offense? And I think they have a week similar to last week. I'm saying 23 to 20. Strong first half, and then they get a little tired, maybe 23 to 28 points, somewhere in that range for the Texas State Bobcats. And I think this is a high-scoring affair for ASU this week.
Okay. What about you?
See, personally, I can actually agree with that. I think ASU's defense or ASU's offense is actually going to have I feel an explosive game coming on here at Texas. I feel like everybody's hyped up, back-to-back wins at home. You're wanting to get that one on the road, and I know we talked about this a little bit last week. When do you guys define ASU to be, a team to stand out in the Big 12? And I just feel like securing your first road win of the season of the Big 12 is going to be so impactful in itself. That's a big splash for them.
Yeah.
So my score prediction for this game is going to be, I'm going to go hard stuck on 28. I'm going to go hard stuck on 28 ASU. And I'm going to say Texas State, we hold them to just 14. I think we beat them by 14. I think this is a solid game. I see 14 or 17, honestly, in Texas State's game plan.
Cool.
I think our corners are going to do such a good job adjusting. I think there's going to be one big deep ball from Texas State where they just absolutely burn our corners. I see that being a huge play. And I just see us adjusting right after that. I see a quick look. Brian Ward's like, get your heads in the game. Lock in, boys. Yeah. And, everybody just starts doing well, quite frankly. I mean, I see there being a lot of tough plays, a lot of, issues trying to communicate early on, but I definitely feel like this is going to be a second half type of game.
Yeah,
and I'm super excited to see how this offense and this defense does at Texas, one of the biggest stages in all of high school football and college football.
Yeah, my projection is pretty similar to that type of style, except it's the reciprocal. I think we're going into halftime down 14-3.
Okay.
So I think the final score is going to be 24-21. We're only going to give up 7 points in the second half. We'll make good adjustments. But we're going to get the ball back at half. We're going to make it 14-10, and then we'll start to get some momentum. I can definitely see a Raleek touchdown, and I could see a defensive turnover in the second half. But I think my final score is going to be 24-21 because I think this is going to be a grit and grind game. It's going to be hard. It's hard to win.
Of course.
In San Marcos.
And right before we leave, because I want to get one more thing out in the air real quick. Based on this game, how many votes do you guys think we're going to hit on the AP poll after this game? If there's a win, do you guys think that we get added more AP votes at all? Or do you think there's a shot we get a little bit closer?
If we go out and beat them like 80-0, then they can't be ignored. But
if we beat them like
but
Wyoming.
If any of our projections come true, probably not.
Yeah, probably not.
This is a team. It takes, I'd say it's going to take more than 3 weeks for AP poll people to change their minds on this ASU team.
Yeah, I think we got to beat Tech first. We got to start
That's fair.
4-0, and then we'll get 25.
Yep.
I completely agree with that statement too. I was the same way. I just want to see where everybody's heads were at a little bit there with that.
It's still very practical right now.
Of course, still very early on.
Yeah.
There's still a lot to prove on the defensive side of things. Brian Ward, same thing.
Especially offense, we need to be nimble. We need to be able to adjust. So.
Sure, and we still need Sam Levitt still got a lot to prove to us too. And I think this game at Texas State is going to be really crucial to, I feel like how the rest of the season goes against teams that can do great on the pass rush.
Yeah.
So I'm excited.
Yeah.
Cool, guys.
Yeah.
Well, Thursday night football.
Let's go, baby.
On ESPN.
Yeah, thank you.
Back to back.
Yeah, thank you guys for joining us here today.
4:30 Mountain Standard Time, our first away game, all right, as we look to start 3-0. Thank you guys so much for being a part of the 480 experience. This is the 480 podcast. This is our pregame coverage for the Texas State Bobcats versus the Arizona State Sun Devils.
Let's go, baby. Forks up.
Forks up, guys. Activate the Valley.
Yes, sir. Welcome to the Inferno.